Greetings, and welcome once again to Carmine's Arena, site of contest and conflict, venue for and of resolution. Resolution in terms of focus, remedy, and commitment, both yours and mine, to the preservation, the propagation, and indeed the celebration of Western civilization. 'Tis time now to take a test. In a lake, there is a patch of lily pads. Each day, the patch doubles in size. It takes 48 days for the patch to cover the entire lake. How long would it take for the patch to cover half of the lake? You said 24, right? Good. That means you're smart. Unfortunately, the right answer was 47. I'm afraid you may be suffering from a condition called Smartitis, an application on the rise among intellectual hotshots. Permit me to explain. See, because you're smart, your brain immediately heard half and 48 and karate chopped out a quick 24. This mental shortcut is called dysrationalia, which afflicts 100% of people who, when asked the question, how much dirt is in a hole 6 feet by 3 feet by 9 feet, answer anything but zero. Yet zero is the correct answer. There is no dirt in a hole, dummies. Dysrationalia is thus the leading cause of smartitis. Don't take my word for it. According to a long string of individuals with PhDs, MBAs, and various other impressive acronyms, smart people are stupid. The idea they present about our educational system can be summed up nicely in the quote by one of said intellectuals, Michael Sherman. Smart people believe weird things because they are skilled at defending beliefs they arrived at for non-smart reasons. Essentially, smart people are used to being smart people, so they assume they're right because usually they are, even when they aren't right, that is. Thus, we do well to check ego and arrogance at the door, that door being the door to truth, accuracy, and authenticity. Ergo, remember your motto, I'm so smart, I'm stupid. In doing so, your merited reward will be a heightened, unimpeded sense of caution. Yes, caution. A condition intellectual bulldozers, such as Bill Maher and Michael Moore, frown upon, thumbing their noses at caution, preferring to live overlooking the piles of debris left in the sorry wake of their bulldozing idiotis which uses their owner's pushy, bulldozing shovel as a cudgel to swoop, hoop, scoop their adherent nincompoops, intellectual schleps in lockstep smack onto their doorstep, TV and earsets. Their truth worth naught but bucktooth. Among those on the list of ghoulish glee Smarties can be found political talkie-talkies running for office against their opposite accomplice. Tweedledum to Tweedledee, so to squeak. Take for a ripe example, ripe of age and idiotis, one recently popular specimen, Bernie, mankind's go-betweenie, Sanders. He lusts for big government of nannies aproned in red tape bureaucracy, a bureaucracy being a giant mechanism run by pygmies. A senator should be smart, right? So smart they're stupid. For Bernie, that boobala, wants to become everyone's kvetch of a mamala overriding each and every conservative Michugana dogma. Now, how, you ask? No? By taxing anything that moves independently with a job. You see what I mean. Sanders smart enough to be a senator, dumb nonetheless to be a socialist. Before you know it, were his revolution to prevail, we'll all soon find out what it feels like becoming a present-day Venezuelan. A socialist haven nationalized up to and beyond Bernie's pupik. That's Brooklynese for belly button, innie or outie. Well, I'm a Brooklyn-born boy chick myself who learned a lot reading Kafka. Kafka, who observed that every revolution evaporates and leaves behind the slime of a new bureaucracy. Venezuela has been slimed by factoids which, when marshaled, may be distorted into facts. Venezuelans do not any longer depend on their socialist government's imagination, but have instead learned to use their eyes and empty stomachs. They need only look around at the self-imposed despair to understand fully that the world owes no one a living, for the world was here first. The secret to getting ahead by getting started. Start by throwing the bums out of the hum, as it were. You'll soon be earning more than crumbs. Even in Puerto Rico, as Socrates said, to be is to do. Those Smarties in the U.S., and enamored of Sanders, the socialist cum commie Bernie, those Smarties are intellectuals still living at home. When their parents are no more, they'll live off of inheritance. Meanwhile, Senator Sanders, besotted Democrat as president, would immediately increase death taxes. Which tax shall wipe out the kids' greedy expectations. Thus, they'll receive bupkis from Bernie, the socialist propagandist. Those who prefer Sweden, soon to be fiscally stricken by socialism, will, like Venezuela and Puerto Rico, be slimed by Swedish envy as a personality trait government-inspired. For socialist Sweden, as everywhere else, has produced a population with spies on its neighbors, remaining vigilant to make sure that their neighbors are not getting more by gaming the system or the like of same. Karl Marx, Bernie's smart and stalwart cerebral mishpucha, was a high liver, a champagne and caviar type purchased by wayward others. This freeloader lived the way the Russians he influenced, that communist mob who luxuriated at the Kremlin while the Russian people lived in public housing, cramping 4 or more families together, sharing in one kitchen and bathroom, that bathroom in each floor's hallway. One apparently had to make reservations. It's small wonder it collapsed. How much can one hold in? The revolution lasted 70 years instead of the 1,000 promised. Karl Marx was the abstract lover of mankind who serially cheated on his adoring wife. One of the loyals supporting him then went ahead to spawn an illegitimate son he wanted never to see nor have any connection with, along with the boy's mom. So much for the love of mankind. He departed this world none too soon, croaked from natural causes, the only cause he ever engaged that was natural. And and I should say in his unnatural, anti-human philosophy continues to live in the hearts and minds of his intellectual descendants. Our do-gooders, that blind cadre of Smarties who, like Sanders, can ever succeed in getting the sand out of their foresight, subscribing to capitalist ambition, leave the other government-dependent parasites like our do-gooders scroungers like the schnurrer Bernie, leave that crew totally verklempt and ready to plot. Unfortunately, all socialist communist regimes go broke. By then, Bernie will be dead like Marx, dead and buried, then dug up, strung up, and reburied in an insignificant grave like Joseph Stalin. Unsung, unmourned, one heap of nature's finally useful dung. Marx came from a long line of rabbis, but maintained that religion was the opiate of the people, whereas his forebears knew it as the poetry of the people. Obviously, when government is to be the biggest thing in one's life, God just gets in the way. One should and must believe in Joseph Stalin, the Goyish patron saint of Bernie, upon whom I've heaped a pack of Yiddishisms. No other language better scorns than know-it-all schlemiels and schlemazzles and schmucks. The list of epithets for they're so smart, their stupid crowd is endless in Yiddish, a language meant for disagreement and stiff-neck argumentation. Its motto, unspoken but lofty, is God only knows, and why should he tell you or Bernie? The word, by the way, for truth in Hebrew is emet, which is spelt with an aleph, mem, and tav. The letter aleph represents the strength and power of God, God the leader. Interestingly, if you remove the letter aleph from emet, the truth, you are left with met, which is the Hebrew word for dead. God, or Yeshua, as the Word of God made flesh, is in fact the very definition of both truth and life. Don't believe me alone, but reference at your leisure the Bible. John, verse 14:6. Yes, dear friends, for in the quality, the answer lies in the quality and quantity of his snooket adherents, suffering as they do from disrationalia and or idiotis. These scoundrels even attempt to change our language in order to push their nefarious agendas. Take, for example, this rather Ganze Megillah over words like felon, convict, or criminal. Obama's Department of Justice want us to do away with these hurtful words. They instead insist that we refer to these lovely people, yet, get this, refer to them as justice-involved individuals. Now, isn't that clumsy, klutzy? But for Obama's Department of Justice, the nouns cited for rapists and murderers as criminals, felons, and convicts are considered sneering and distancing. The DOJ, methinks, at least in this administration, should be dubbed the Department of Malpractice. And I say so with prejudice. For what Shall serial killers be tagged? Perhaps perennial thrillers, or something even less shriller of nonsense fillers. Do you see how far smart people can go? Their chutzpah is as boundless as it is surreal. More of this, like linguistic intervention, and civilization shall congeal piecemeal, for we are what we think. Those who can't cut the mustard are coached cowards who eventually hazard Harvard. Harvard, where thought is hoisted by its own petard into smarty retarded by those in our wayward fraternal wizards. Wizards like Obama and cronies who, when it comes to logical thought, end up believing something like the flat earth theory, or such truthers who are committed to the sun rotating around the earth, if only to be contrarian schmegeggers who schlep across thought to convince fellow schlemiels to comport no matter the discomfort. These wizards, Harvard-educated like Obama, are mavens suffering from a stubborn disability. For cancer one day will be cured, but narcissism is permanent. You might also note that the hope and change academics have left us with hope evolving into despair and change devolving to stagnation. New? Go figure. Go figure how America allowed itself to be ruled instead of represented, allowed itself to be ruled and schooled by a confederacy of fools from Harvard, Yale, and Columbia, dullets dutifully all on call. Now, our Harvard haphazard president, abhorrent, has made so many unforgivable blunders, we'd soon run out of time listing them. Blunders undermining, I should say, our values, undermining our national security, undermining free enterprise, blundering about making personal choices of czars to attend his vision of America's future, make a sick comedy. Signing the Affordable Care Act is an example of Lewis Carroll's surrealism. Surrealism that should and could be an added chapter to Alice in Wonderland. Perhaps Obama could even read it as a bedtime fairy tale, relying, of course, on his omnipresent teleprompter, paced by the Mad Hatter. My two favorite of Obama, the abominables, boo-boos, are giving billions to green projects like Solyndra, Next Era, among others. Banking on bankrolls, they instead all went bankrupt, undoubtedly from sunstroke. my other favorite boo-boo our president made, a doozy in fact, was referring in a speech to the Marine Corps as the Marine Corps. Corpse, of course, being a Freudian slip. You see, Mr. President, sir, smart can be stupid, stupid at fast and furious speeds. Pun on the run intended. Let us now leave Obama and his pedestrian company and their melodrama and continue schmoozing about other Smarties outside the oral orifice made so under Bill Clinton's girl-crazed auspices. I now reference one hell of a Smartie, one vintage American hater, such as George Soros, Jeremiah Wright, Bill Ayers, and yes, radical maven Saul Alinsky. I single out for special mention Noam Chomsky. Chomsky, a committed anti-capitalist pacifist who, like the distinguished composer Ned Rorem, can't quite understand that peace is not the absence of war. You know the ilk of this superior breed, who watch while others are murdered, then smartphoning the peace officers. Had, however, we not have prevailed unconditionally over Nazi Germany in 1945, Chomsky, a duly respected linguist, expert in phonics, syntax, and semantics, Chomsky would have been executed sans words, their structure, nor meaning. Why? Well, for merely being Jewish. Ned Rorem would have been made kaput also, not for being Jewish, but an out-of-the-closet Quaker, along with countless other homosexuals in Holocaust hosts to roast. But at least Chomsky, the linguist, and Ned Rorem, the composer of opera, whose librettos and wonderful art songs wouldn't anytime soon be referring to the Marine Corps, that body which we would be dutifully protecting, who would be dutifully protecting them, wouldn't refer to the Marine Corps, that body, and I repeat, which would be dutifully protecting them, wouldn't refer to the Marine Corps as a Marine Corps. Is pacifism well-meaning? Why, yes, as well-meaning as a stage mom. That asbestos curtain yenta infant apocrypha. I've personally known a number of stage moms who've turned their daughters into permanent wannabe amateurs and their sons, those cute boy chicks, into relapsed waiters. Their tip? The family home. Greed to solve their hardship hidden by showmanship in sorry need of a trained and structured director who's read the Apostles' Creed. Before we leave so-called moms, both stage and staged, the latter who go it alone without dad, daddy, or father, those who choose to make of their womb an abortion mill which determines what is and what is not life, though it be a throb with promise, may wish to dwell upon this new finding. The photos which left me falling to my knees with reverence. What photos? Pictures taken of an ovum, which are all dark circles until a sperm breaches its protective wall. And voila! The ovum begins to glow across its full rotundity. Yes, let there be light, swiftly came to mind. Yet our Smarties, so smart they're stupid, at Planned Parenthood, would dutifully follow the party line and ignore what is Mom's miracle of matchless magnitude, a majesty of life that invites the wow effect, wow being Mom turned right side up. To kill innocent life is the halting of hope to despair and change to stagnation. Hope become misanthrope, change become deranged. The National Organization of Women, its acronym NOW, negates the wow. Thus, femininity is often to feminism, a sterile theory open to disrationalia and idiotis. All attitude fast losing altitude when we once again return to that fertilized ovum, aglow and yet not disowned. A blog I've hogged for you, leftist dogs, having been well demagogue, has to do with the new system rigged unto bias by those who claim to be free of bias. You know, those Smarties. Now hear this under Arena's video aegis. ABC News executive producer Ian Cameron is married to Susan Rice, National Security Advisor, and all-around smarty. CBS President David Rhodes is the brother of Ben Rhodes, Obama's deputy and National Security Advisor for Strategic Communications and Other Lies. ABC News correspondent Claire Shipman is married to former White House Press Secretary Jay Carney. ABC News and Univision reporter Matthew Jaffe is married to Katie Hogan, Obama's deputy press secretary. CNN President Virginia Mosley is married to former Hillary Clinton's deputy secretary Tom Nides. And now you know why it is, no surprise. The media usually goes very easy on Obama's administration and his blunders. You think there might be a little bias in these professionals who suspect they've none? Au contraire, their bias has evolved to cronyism and thereafter to incestuous proclivity. Continue to listen. I ain't finished with our furnished list. A Democrat congressman who represented Iowa's 1st Congressional District from 1973 to 77 sat on the House Judiciary Committee and decided the fate of Richard Nixon. He was friends with the Clintons, politically intertwined with the Clintons for many years. In fact, the gentleman of whom I speak is Ed Mezvinsky, who had an affair with NBC News reporter Marjorie Margolis and later married her after his wife divorced him. In 1993, Marjorie, then a freshman Democrat in Congress, cast a deciding vote that got President Clinton's controversial tax package through the House of Representatives. In March 2001, Mezvinsky was indicted and later pleaded guilty to 31 of 69 counts of bank fraud, mail fraud, and wire fraud. Some mishegas. Ed Mezvinsky embezzled more than $10 million from people via both a Ponzi scheme and the notorious Nigerian email scams. He was found guilty and sentenced to some 80 months in federal prison. After serving less than 5 years, he was released in April 2008 and remains on probation. To this day, Mezvinsky still owes $9.4 million in restitution to his victims. Well, why am I spending so much words on this crook? Oh, I should say justice-involved individual, as per Obama. Ed Mezvinsky is Chelsea Clinton's father-in-law, married to his son, the boy chick Mark. Now Mark and Chelsea are in their early 30s and purchased a $10.5 million New York City apartment after being wed and feted in the George Soros' daughter's mansion. Has anyone heard mention of any of this in any of the media? If so, it was buried in small print on page umpteen by Bill and Hillary's go-between. Yet liberals, you know the lot, too smart to be dumb conservative. They claim there are no double standards in political reportage, while people are now coagulating and adulating the likes of Hillary, who actively tarries for our starry presidency against all adversaries. I can only pray her campaign frays into fragmentary and the exposed vagary of a longtime political leech, supported by that aforementioned Clinton admirer, one billionaire anti-capitalist and American hater, George Soros. Soros, who along with Hillary share a hero in the radical maven Saul Alinsky. All contrarians, all nudniks, Soros, a felon wanted abroad, being one of those justice-involved individuals. Although he believes that he has messianic powers. No? What else? Soros, the perps, an arch excerpt of starch stuffed shirt. However, with Chelsea as prospective lady-in-waiting, the political cycle seems never to end, except, fingers crossed, may she end up waiting for Godot. Ergo, keep the faith, and until next we meet, practice, being less smart and more discreet. Caution being your guide to sleek thought, sans cheek. Such will soon become your attendant pratique and mystique. Let there be light, our summit's peak. Au revoir, mes amis.
If you have any comments or other remarks, and that I perhaps could even read on some of these broadcasts, please do not hesitate to write to me, Carmine Arena, P.O. Box 1029, Larchmont, New York, 10538.